When we talk about the American dream, we imagine a place where anyone can thrive, regardless of where they come from or what they believe. But here's the uncomfortable truth. For millions of Muslim Americans, that dream feels more complicated every single day. Today, we're diving deep into 12 states where Muslim communities are thriving in numbers, yet struggling with acceptance. What you're about to discover might challenge everything you thought you knew about religious freedom in America. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment sharing your perspective. This conversation needs your voice. Let's start with number 12, Florida. Picture this: 128,000 Muslims living across the Sunshine State, representing just over 0.5% of Florida's population. Miami, Tampa, and Orlando have become unexpected hubs where Islamic cultural centers stand alongside theme parks and beach resorts. You'd think in such a diverse tourist destination, accommodation would be natural, but here's where it gets interesting. For many Floridians, basic Muslim practices remain foreign territory. Fasting during Ramadan, taking 5 minutes to pray during the workday. These simple religious obligations spark curiosity in some people and deep discomfort in others. What should be straightforward requests, like a small prayer space in a public building, escalate into heated town halls about special treatment and religious neutrality. But nothing captured the tension quite like Florida's proposed ban on foreign laws. Lawmakers specifically targeted Sharia in state courts, even though, and this is crucial, no one had ever tried to implement Sharia law in the first place. The Muslim community saw this for what it was, a solution looking for a problem, with their faith caught in the crossfire. The proposal sent shockwaves through mosques and Islamic centers across the state. It wasn't really about legal frameworks. It was about sending a message, and that message was heard loud and clear. Schools became another battleground. When Muslim parents asked districts to avoid scheduling major exams on Eid, the pushback was fierce. Brief prayer breaks for fasting students? Denied in multiple counties, often under pressure from conservative groups who saw accommodation as capitulation. So here's Florida's paradox: a state built on tourism and diversity, where every small step toward genuine inclusion ignites major debates about belonging. For anyone watching this from Florida, ask yourself, what does welcome actually look like? Does it stop at being a tourist destination, or does it extend to your neighbors, your coworkers, and the kids in your child's classroom? Number 11, Maryland. Maryland lands in this spot, and this state shows how public policy toward faith communities can either build trust or deepen division. Around 189,000 Muslims live here, over 3% of the population. Baltimore anchors this community, where daily life carries clear signs of Islamic faith through clothing, family customs, and community gatherings. South Asian, Middle Eastern, and African immigrants have brought traditions enriching the state's social and economic life. Maryland took real steps toward inclusion, creating public spaces respecting religious practices and recognizing certain Islamic holidays. This sent an important message. Muslim families are part of the state's shared story, but progress always meets resistance. In 2015, lawmakers attempted to block foreign legal frameworks like Sharia in Maryland courts. Never mind that Sharia wasn't being applied at the institutional level. Many Muslims felt the proposal portrayed their faith as a threat and treated their beliefs with suspicion. The protests that followed weren't just about a bill. They were about dignity and the right to be seen as fully part of American society. Similar patterns appeared around mosque construction. Local groups raised concerns about zoning, traffic, and environmental impact, but many in the Muslim community perceived these objections as covers for deeper discomfort with their religion and presence. These tensions speak to a larger question affecting all of us in modern life. How do we live together when our beliefs and practices differ so strongly, yet we share the same streets, schools, and workplaces? For people in Maryland or any state facing similar dynamics, here's the pathway forward. Move from fear toward honest relationship. Get to know your Muslim neighbors. Listen to their stories. Look beyond headlines to see the human faces behind them. When policy debates arise, support solutions protecting both religious freedom and the common good rather than fueling suspicion. By choosing respect in daily conversations and fairness in public decisions, you help create communities where every family, regardless of origin or religion, can feel at home and contribute their gifts to the wider society. Number 10. North Carolina. Now we head to North Carolina, home to approximately 131,000 Muslims, representing 1.25% of the state's residents. Charlotte, Raleigh, and Durham have seen explosive growth in their Muslim populations over recent decades. South Asian and Middle Eastern families arrived carrying traditions, building businesses, and dreaming of stability. But visibility brought vulnerability. The hijab became a flashpoint. In schools across the state, Muslim girls wearing head coverings sparked intense conversations about religious freedom versus institutional neutrality. What should have been a simple expression of faith turned into a referendum on identity and belonging. And here's what haunts this community. The shadow of September 11th never fully lifted. Surveillance programs emerged, justified as security measures, but experienced as profiling. Mosques were monitored. Religious leaders were questioned. For Muslim families in North Carolina, the message felt clear. You're not neighbors to be known, but problems to be managed. When trust breaks down like this, it takes generations to rebuild. Information travels fast, fear travels faster, and stereotypes become self-reinforcing unless someone deliberately interrupts the cycle. If you're in North Carolina, here's your opportunity. Meet a Muslim neighbor before forming an opinion. Stand up gently when you witness unfair treatment. Support policies that protect both safety and dignity. These aren't grand gestures. They're daily choices that accumulate into cultural change. When you choose relationship over assumptions, you help create spaces where Muslim families can practice their faith openly, while everyone grows in respect and shared responsibility. Number 9. Massachusetts. You might not think of Boston when you picture Muslim America, but here's what the numbers tell us. Over 130,000 Muslims call this state home, making up about 1.9% of the population. From the historic Islamic Society of Boston to vibrant communities in Quincy, Cambridge, and Worcester, Massachusetts, Muslims have woven themselves into the fabric of New England life. Palestinian, Lebanese, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, and Somali families have built mosques, businesses, and cultural centers that pulse with life. But beneath this success story lies a darker reality. A shocking 2021 survey revealed that 60% of Muslim youth in Massachusetts public schools experienced mockery, verbal harassment, or physical abuse because of their faith. Think about that for a second. 6 out of every 10 Muslim students. Some stopped wearing their hijabs. Others changed their names. One 14-year-old girl was labeled a terrorist by classmates, with football team members retaliating when she tried to report it. Students shouted Allahu Akbar at her in the cafeteria as a joke. This isn't just kids being kids. This is systematic othering happening in one of America's most educated states. When proposals for Islamic schools or mosque expansions come before town councils, they often meet intense resistance framed as zoning concerns or traffic issues. Yet many Muslim residents recognize what's really happening. Discomfort with their presence dressed up in bureaucratic language. Here's what matters most for anyone living in Massachusetts or similar communities. Real inclusion isn't about tolerating diversity from a distance. It's about standing up when your neighbor's child is bullied. It's about supporting the mosque application in your town. It's about teaching your own kids that a hijab isn't something to fear. Because if the values we claim actually matter, they need to show up in how we treat each other every single day. Number 8. Texas. Texas lands at number 8 with around 314,000 Muslims, about 1.07% of the total population. Houston, Dallas, and Austin have become home to vibrant neighborhoods where South Asian, Middle Eastern, and African American Muslim communities have opened businesses and created dynamic religious and cultural centers. Their presence is visible through community events, halal markets, and the steady rhythm of prayers shaping spiritual identity for many households. But even in these diverse environments, tension has surfaced around security and immigration. After the 2015 attack in Garland, the state adopted stricter surveillance measures, focusing heavily on Muslim communities, especially mosques. Many Muslims felt singled out, watched, and unfairly associated with actions they didn't support. The feeling that their loyalty was being questioned created frustration and resentment. A similar challenge appeared in 2017 when a school district came under criticism for failing to accommodate students observing Ramadan. The absence of flexibility created public debate about whether schools truly respect religious freedom or simply tolerate it on a surface level. These moments remind Texans today that a community's strength isn't measured by how loudly it promotes freedom, but by how consistently it protects that freedom for everyone. For anyone living in Texas, a meaningful response begins with reaching out to Muslim neighbors, advocating for fair treatment in schools and public institutions, and helping create environments where diversity isn't feared but welcomed. Texas has always prided itself on hospitality. Now's the time to prove that hospitality extends beyond barbecue and football to genuine inclusion of all Texans. Number 7. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania sits at number 7 with about 149,000 Muslims, roughly 1.15% of the state. Philadelphia and Pittsburgh anchor this community, bringing together African, South Asian, and African American Muslim converts who've built thriving congregations. These cities pulse with Islamic life. Mosques function as more than prayer spaces. They're education centers, charity hubs, and family gathering places where faith flows naturally into daily rhythm. But let's talk about what happened when security became the excuse for surveillance. Philadelphia became ground zero for debates about prayer spaces in public schools. Supporters saw this as reasonable accommodation. Opponents questioned how far public institutions should bend to recognize religious practices. Meanwhile, suburban Pittsburgh witnessed something telling. Attempts to build new mosques faced fierce local resistance. The objections always came wrapped in zoning concerns and infrastructure worries. Yet Muslim residents couldn't shake the feeling that the real issue was simpler and more painful: discomfort with their presence and traditions. These experiences raise questions every modern community must answer. How do we make room for each other in an increasingly diverse society? What kind of welcome do we offer families who bring different languages, foods, and forms of prayer into our shared spaces? For anyone living in Pennsylvania or states undergoing similar demographic shifts, here's the invitation. Grow in patience, empathy, and active curiosity. Listen generously. Defend your neighbor's dignity. Support fair policies. When you do this, you help build a society where every family can live their faith openly while contributing their unique gifts to the common good. Number 6. Virginia. Virginia claims 6th place with around 170,000 Muslims, nearly 2% of residents. The northern region has become the epicenter of this growth. Ethiopian, Pakistani, and other immigrants have built strong communities rooted in faith, family, and education. Alexandria and Arlington now feature vibrant Islamic centers serving as essential spaces for prayer, youth programs, and community support. But Virginia's story can't be told without mentioning what happened after September 11th. Surveillance programs emerged. Mosques were monitored. Targeted investigations created a climate where many Muslims felt watched rather than welcomed. Then came 2017 and the travel ban on several Muslim-majority countries. Suddenly, Virginia Muslims weren't just watching policy debates on TV. They were living the consequences. Families separated, students blocked from returning to studies, careers interrupted, parents suddenly unsure about their futures. The emotional toll of exclusion and fear rippled through entire communities. What emerged was remarkable. Widespread mobilization. Neighbors showed up. Churches stood alongside mosques. Civic organizations defended fairness and human dignity. In classrooms, another battle unfolded over whether Islamic holidays should join the school calendar. The divide was stark. Those believing inclusivity requires recognition of diverse religious practices versus those arguing public schools should avoid adjustments for specific traditions. These difficult discussions highlight a fundamental truth about modern life. The more diverse our communities become, the more intentional we must be in building understanding. For anyone in Virginia or similar environments, support respectful dialogue. Advocate for policies honoring both security and human dignity. Cultivate relationships that bridge differences. When you choose compassion over fear, you help shape a future where every child, regardless of faith, can feel at home. Number 5. New Jersey. New Jersey takes 5th place with approximately 322,000 Muslims, over 3.4% of the population. Paterson and Newark serve as the heart of this presence, welcoming families from South Asia, the Middle East, and Africa who've established mosques, halal markets, and Islamic cultural centers shaping daily life in these regions. This visibility strengthens belonging. Yet it also brings tension when parts of wider society misunderstand or resist their neighbors' religious identity. In 2016, a proposal to ban Sharia law in New Jersey courts sparked strong protests. The Muslim community viewed this measure as unnecessary and as an attempt to stigmatize their faith, especially since Sharia wasn't being applied at an institutional level. Simultaneously, attempts to build new mosques in suburban areas faced repeated zoning objections. While these objections were framed as concerns about space or traffic, many Muslims interpreted them as expressions of deeper discomfort with their presence. Challenges also appear in professional spaces where some Muslims encounter discrimination related to wearing the hijab, keeping a beard, or observing prayer times. These experiences contribute to rising legal complaints and reveal how far society still has to go in honoring religious freedom principles. For viewers who call New Jersey home, these stories offer a powerful invitation. Modern life demands more than coexistence. It calls for genuine understanding, persistent compassion, and courage to defend the dignity of those whose traditions may differ from our own. When you advocate for fair workplace policies, welcome new houses of worship, and teach your children to respect religious identity, you participate in building a state where diversity enriches everyone. Number 4. Michigan. Michigan takes 4th place, and honestly, this state's story has become iconic when people discuss Muslim life in America. About 242,000 Muslims live here, close to 2.4% of the population. At the heart sits Dearborn, widely recognized as a major center of Islamic community life, with one of the nation's largest Muslim concentrations. Lebanese, Yemeni, and Syrian families have built neighborhoods, schools, and businesses reflecting both their heritage and American identity. Walk through Dearborn or parts of Detroit and you'll hear Arabic in markets, see mosques lining main roads, and feel a strong culture of hospitality and family ties. This vibrancy makes Michigan special. But Michigan also illustrates serious challenges in how wider society relates to this community. The 2017 travel ban on several Muslim-majority countries turned Michigan into a focal point for protests. Families in Dearborn and Detroit were directly affected. Relatives couldn't visit. Students couldn't return to studies. Parents suddenly faced uncertain futures. Many residents saw these policies as discriminatory, not just for their legal impact, but for the message they sent about whose presence was welcome. Demonstrations in airports, city streets, and places of worship brought together Muslims and non-Muslims, defending both fairness and human dignity. Beyond national policies, local tensions persist, especially when the community expands beyond established centers. In Dearborn, new mosque construction has become normalized. But in other Michigan areas, similar projects face resistance. Concerns get framed as traffic, parking, or neighborhood changes. Yet many Muslims feel these objections sometimes hide deeper discomfort with Islam itself. When infrastructure arguments become thin covers for fear or prejudice, trust erodes and social fabric weakens. For those in Michigan or watching from other states, here's the lesson. Respecting religious freedom means more than tolerating someone from a distance. It means creating space for houses of worship, defending neighbors when they're unfairly targeted, and choosing to see every family as part of the state's shared story. Want to respond positively? Start with simple steps. Learn Dearborn's history. Support local initiatives building bridges between communities. Speak up when you hear harmful stereotypes. In doing so, You help Michigan become not just a place with many Muslims, but a place where Muslims and all people can live with dignity and hope. Number 3. Illinois. Illinois holds third place with around 474,000 Muslims, close to 3.7% of the population. Most live in Chicago and surrounding suburbs where immigrants from the Middle East and South Asia, along with their children and grandchildren, have woven Islamic faith into the city's everyday life. Across the region, you'll find mosques, community centers, and Islamic schools, serving not only as places of worship and learning, but also as hubs for charity work, youth programs, and interfaith dialogue. This network makes Illinois one of the most important centers of Muslim life in the United States, adding rich layers of culture, language, and tradition to neighborhoods. However, this same visibility has exposed the community to policies and reactions, leaving scars of distrust. Since the early 2000s, Chicago has been a focal point of federal surveillance targeting Muslims. Monitoring programs and investigations many families experienced as unfair and intrusive created quiet but heavy pressure. For parents raising children in this context, the feeling that their mosques might be watched or their leaders questioned became a constant background hum. The construction of new Islamic centers and schools has sometimes faced resistance from local groups expressing concerns about cultural change or neighborhood impact. While these arguments sometimes come in neutral language, many Muslims sense deeper fear of their religion behind the objections. This climate has contributed to rising Islamophobic incidents, from verbal harassment on streets and public transportation to physical attacks spiking after major international events. Each incident sends a painful message that some people still see Muslims as outsiders or threats rather than neighbors sharing the same desires for safety, education, and peaceful life. For those living in Illinois today, whether Muslim or not, these realities offer a clear call to action. Modern life pushes all of us to decide how we respond when fear and difference collide. Choose to learn more about Muslims in Chicago's history. Support local initiatives bringing communities together. Speak up when you witness prejudice or unfair treatment. When you greet a neighbor at the mosque, defend a classmate mocked for their faith, or advocate for fair policies in your city, you help transform Illinois into a place where diversity is truly seen as a gift and every person can live with dignity and hope. Number 2. California. California takes second place with about 550,000 Muslims, around 1.27% of the population. This community reflects the broader multicultural character of California, with many families coming from South Asia and different regions of Africa. Los Angeles and San Francisco serve as major centers of Muslim life, where mosques, cultural associations, and student groups help people live their faith while participating fully in wider society. In many neighborhoods, celebrations like Eid draw not only Muslims, but also non-Muslim friends and neighbors, showing that shared joy can build bridges where fear once stood. Yet California isn't immune to pressures affecting Muslims nationwide. In 2017, the state became a visible stage for protests against the travel ban targeting several Muslim-majority nations. Many Californians saw this policy as discriminatory, especially those whose relatives were suddenly unable to visit, study, or reunite with families. Rising Islamophobia has led to painful incidents, including mosque attacks and workplace discrimination, where some employers refuse to allow visible expressions of faith like the hijab. Projects to build new mosques or Islamic centers have sometimes met resistance framed as traffic or neighborhood impact concerns, yet many Muslims perceive these objections as signs of deeper religious prejudice. In modern life, where so many Californians speak of inclusion, innovation, and human rights, these contradictions call each of us to examine our own attitudes. It's not enough to celebrate diversity and slogans while ignoring the quiet struggles of neighbors. For viewers living in California or feeling connected to its story, here's the clear invitation. Take time to learn about Muslim communities in your own city. Support fair workplace policies respecting religious attire and prayer. Don't stay silent when you witness stereotypes or hostility. When you choose to greet a coworker in the hallway, stand with a friend facing discrimination, or welcome a new house of worship into your neighborhood, you help turn the language of freedom into daily reality. In this way, California can become not only a place with many Muslims, but a place where Muslims and all people can live their faith and dreams with dignity and hope. Number 1. New York. New York takes first place, and this story shows more clearly than almost any other how faith, migration, and public policy can shape a city's soul. The greater New York region is home to around 725,000 Muslims, close to 3.6% of the population. This Islamic community is one of the most diverse in the entire country, with immigrants from the Middle East, South Asia, and Africa, plus many African American converts to Islam, living side by side and building a shared future. New York City is a major hub of Islamic life with mosques and cultural organizations spread across the 5 boroughs, especially Queens and Brooklyn. Daily prayer fills many mosques, and celebrations like Eid overflow with families, friends, and deep joy spilling into streets and public squares. Yet even in this atmosphere of strong religious practice and cultural richness, painful tensions have surfaced, especially around security questions. In 2011, revelation of secret surveillance programs targeting Muslims in New York ignited widespread backlash. Mosques, Islamic bookstores, student groups, and even restaurants frequented by Muslims were monitored by police. This reality many people across the country saw as a direct attack on religious practice and civil rights. For Muslim families in New York, this felt like living under suspicion in the very place where they prayed, worked, and raised their children. These experiences form part of a larger picture of how some predominantly Christian states and cities in America respond to Islamic practices within their borders, sometimes with openness, sometimes with policies that feel restrictive or unjust. As you reflect on this, ask yourself what kind of society you hope to help build. How do you see the balance between security and freedom, between fear and trust, between difference and shared dignity? If you want to follow more stories like this and support the channel, make sure to subscribe so you never miss the next conversation. Drop a comment below sharing your thoughts or experiences. This dialogue matters, and your voice is part of shaping what comes next.